Hello, welcome to FreeFX. I am Francesco Sani, and today is Thursday, the 19th of November. Welcome to my video. And a lot of my videos have been focusing on the pound kiwi. Today I want to focus again on the pound kiwi, but more on the idea that I will show you in the next page. First of all, here's a disclaimer for you. As you know, trading is a risky activity, so I'd like you to be aware of that. And the topic of the day, fundamentals and the news. Now, I only have 50 minutes, so I'll try my best to summarize the topic of the day. Certainly there is a lot to say, so I'll make it as concise as I can. I'm using a variety of things here on the screen, so let me explain first of all. The first website I'm going to use is investing.com. There are a number of websites which will give you economic calendars that you can follow. I can think of a number. Oanda has its own daily effects, which I use as well. This I prefer at the moment because it allows me to set dates. For example, at this particular page, I've got the date set for the week of 7th of December on to the 11th, which happens to be a very important week. So if I wanted to see what happened in this particular week, I could set the dates and that would give me the option of going into the future. So I don't have to rely on a week-by-week calendar. I can go ahead and actually program into my diary what kind of dates I'm going to watch out for. So this is what intelligent traders do, rather than living on a sort of moment-by-moment basis, is trying to really look at the charts when it's important to look at them, and not really focus on every single hour and every single minute of the day. There may be days where there's nothing going on and the market moves a lot for reasons that you cannot foresee. That's true. However, we can see here that there is something of a high importance on our day, so we cannot certainly discount it just because anything may happen. We certainly want to be prepared. So whatever kind of trader you are, I'm more of a longer term trader, but I still want to know what is happening on a daily basis because certainly sentiment is fed by daily news. Just look at what happened over the weekend with the attacks on Paris. These moments in life and the markets have an influence. So even just a single day, and in this particular instance, something that happened over the weekend when the markets are closed, it still has an influence and it can change things in an instant. So it didn't particularly do so. On this occasion, there was no direct impact on sentiment, but certainly sentiment can be something that builds slowly. So, for example, if you think of the situation of the euro and its difficulties, both as a eurozone economy situation, both as the European Central Bank's policy of downgrading the euro through quantitative easing, if you think of all of these things, and then add to that geopolitical uncertainty and fear, and the migration crisis as well, all of these things add up. So the markets actually build sentiment on several scales or several layers of concern. So this particular calendar shows me what is going to happen in a few weeks. But I want to be prepared because this is a very heavy week. As you can see, I've put down all the items with an importance level of at least 2 moderate or 3 high. And there are a number of them. There is the Chinese yuan trade balance, which obviously gives an idea of how much China is a strong importer overall, or more of a net exporter. Now, if it's a strong importer, it means that countries like New Zealand, which are strong trading partners to China, dairy products, especially milk powder, if China is experiencing, as it is, an economic slowdown, and it's importing less, and it's becoming more insular and more protectionist, so basically just produces things and goods for its own country rather than importing them, then this also might have an impact on New Zealand trading, and New Zealand trading is a strong percentage of its capital and GDP. So this is something to watch out for, although it's not specifically to do with New Zealand dollar or US dollar or something like that. Going forward, we see that on Wednesday, towards the end of the day, all these times are GMT, by the way. So 8 o'clock would be essentially 3 o'clock in the US in the afternoon. There's an interest rate decision for the Royal Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and this gives us a really strong end for the year for the New Zealand dollar. So we have a very strong week because, as well as that, okay, the next day, the very next day, so really important to view this particular rate decision if you're trading something like the British pound New Zealand dollar pair, as I do. If you were trading them in a shorter term, you probably want to wait to set up any trades after both of these events had gone past. So we have the New Zealand dollar at 8 o'clock in the evening, and the next morning, so less than 12 hours, actually slightly more than 12 hours, sorry, we have at 12 o'clock, we have the interest rate decision. And we also get the, obviously the data from the vote. So who voted what? The 9 votes of the policy committee will give us a clue as to kind of the general sentiment of within the bank. Now, what I want to talk about as well is, this is basically very useful, but then I want to go forward to the next trading week. And then again, I want to look at, as we get towards the end of December, I want to see what is happening in terms of the, I want to see what's happening in terms of the events leading up to Christmas, because this is the essentially the week before Christmas. Now, for some reason, this is not showing me what I want to see, but it should show that on the 16th of December, we have the US interest rate decision. Very important. This is the apex or the climax of the entire trading year for a lot of reasons, which we won't go into at the moment, but I've discussed this before, and I'm sure that you're very aware, if you're not aware by this point, of the Fed rate talk about the interest rate rise by now. You've probably been missing out, because it's been the one theme that's moved the dollar this year, and certainly a lot of the markets. So this event will shape things certainly for the end of the year, but also for the future, so for 2016 and even beyond. So I think certainly for anybody who's aware of the importance of fundamentals for the US dollar and for trading the majors, this is a very strong event. Now, as I said, for some reason it's not showing, but it will be on the 16th of December. So now I just want to move on to the next part of the video, which is again to do with the link between fundamentals and news and price action. So I've taken the liberty of loading this particular app, which you'll find on the FXCM App Store. This particular one is free, and it gives you access to the Daily FX news calendar. And on the top here, you see all the news items that are coming up with a countdown in terms of days and hours. So for example, the next one upcoming is on the 20th, will be the credit card spending. Okay, we've got 9 hours to go. And these items are all the items I've classified as medium and high. So I filtered basically the kinds of news that I want to see on the screen. But as well as that, we have something else which is very, very interesting. And this particular set of numbers that you see on the screen on the daily chart for the Kiwi dollar, US dollar, gives me an idea of what items of news happened on each particular day. So every day candle here is paired up with the news items. So for example, here on the 6th of November, we have two high importance, or what FreeFX classes as high importance news items. So we have, if we hover, you see them there. Okay, change in non-farm payrolls, and it was 271,000 versus a forecast of 185. So a very strong US dollar reaction. Okay, that was 2 Fridays ago. So you can see what happened to the Kiwi US dollar. It went from about 66 all the way down to 65 and kind of paused there. Okay, so the volume wasn't particularly strong. Okay, compared to volume here. So there was a stronger push on the 3rd of November. Then volume sort of declined, but it kept falling. It kind of stalled here. More volume, more selling, then low volume here. So not much of a move in terms of volume or price in the next few days. So we're trying to see realistically what news items can actually achieve. In this case, it's a non-farm payrolls, which is a very clear cut. In this kind of US dollar positive sentiment, a very clear cut type of news. Are there any more jobs? Is the unemployment falling or at least not rising? And all of this is obviously feeding the expectation that the Federal Reserve Bank of America will actually move forward in raising rates for the first time in years. So we obviously always interpret things in context. And then when we see the market's reaction here is that there was a very strong reaction on the day, but following that there wasn't much movement. So the Kiwi didn't sort of precipitate straight after the following week. Okay, so we have then this sort of 5 days of really not going anywhere. And if we look at the this particular day, which was the Friday, we see that there is an item of news considered high, which is the advanced retail sales, and it was 0.1% for the US versus a forecast of 0.3%. Retail sales are a strong indicator of, obviously, the economic health of a nation, how much consumers in the sort of the circle of virtuous capitalism, where there is investment in consumer goods to be purchased as people earn and spend. This particular set of retail sales was disappointing and near 0% almost, which really suggests that spending wasn't particularly strong in that month, but also that we're not going up in a straight line. So jobs may be increasing, but perhaps wage growth isn't catching up with jobs. Therefore, wage growth is low, wages are not growing, prices are not growing as a result, and therefore this may cause a delay in the bank, the federal bank, moving forward with normalizing its policy. So again, the fact that we didn't see a lot of movement here means that we don't have that conviction yet. And the Kiwi dollar on its own obviously can't really push against the US dollar, because the Kiwi dollar has been in a strong downtrend, and the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has been talking the New Zealand dollar down, cutting rates. So between these two moments of indecision, you won't get a strong push in any direction. Okay. Today, this is the last candle. We've not really had any news items, so it seems that this 65 level looked like it had broken, but it held, and we pushed back up. So just to summarize, using an app like this can help you really linking news items and movements of price on chart. Also keeping ahead of news, sort of knowing what's coming up and trying to be prepared, seeing what the market sentiment is and trying to link news and fundamentals together. It's not the same as actually trading the news actively, but it's certainly meaning that you have more probability of being on the right side of general sentiment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on my next FreeFX video. See you later.